Llanwnda is actually a church which dates back from the 13th and 15th century. And there's so many old pieces of architecture in the church itself. One of my favourites has got to be the carved head. So there's a head in one of the beams actually in the ancient medieval ceiling of the church. And it dates back to 500 years old. Now, this church was actually famous for being amongst the buildings that was pillaged by the French in 1979, which is when the last ever invasion of mainland Britain took place. Now, the story tells of the French soldiers attempting to light a fire using pews as firewood and this Bible as kindling. Church records and registers were destroyed, baptism records all missing. And it's clear from the condition of the Bible that the pages have been not just torn but wrenched from the binding. The fragile condition of the pages has made it impossible to know how much of the text is actually missing. The rough handling of the Bible serves to underpin the story that members of the 1797 invasion force did at least attempt to use it as kindling for a fire. For more than 200 years, the surviving pages of the Llanwnda Bible, about 60% of the complete tome, have actually remained in the church. It was actually in the 1990s that the Bible was rediscovered, hidden at the back of the church, and nobody realised at the time what it was. It's so peaceful and so quiet. There's literally no one around, and the view from the windows is just pretty spectacular. There's so many phases of this church. You can see the layers in it, and it really is something special. It's a brilliant spot to come to on a gorgeous day like today. We've been really lucky with the weather, and we've seen red kites. The sea is bluer than blue. It's something special. You can see out of the window how sunny the day is. So that's the squint. Tiny little window that was placed in the porch of the chapel so that the sick and lepers were able to see the service, but they wouldn't risk infecting any of the healthy local villagers. Now there is an easier way of getting to this beautiful little well, but that is by far the most enchanting. It's actually a place you can park the car there, so, you know. People have already put little offerings in. It was said that anybody on a pilgrimage to St. David's would come by and wash their feet in the well. Can't say well and not make a little offering, so I have these lovely rose petals that I actually dried myself, so just my thanks to an ancient body of water in a beautiful place. So I'm here at St. Gwyndaf's well, and it's just outside of St. Gwyndaf's Church, just adjacent to it and hidden by some trees. It's a beautiful, really, really peaceful environment, and I think it's maybe because of the Celtic blood in me, but I find ancient wells to be incredible places. Bodies of water like this, wells and cleans, as you would say in Wales. So the big lakes, they are liminal spaces between. And even though the majority of the wells that we have now, especially in Pembrokeshire, with the presence of St. David's Cathedral, they've all got a more Christian layer, which is absolutely fine. But the wells around here would have had a far greater history than just from the start of Christianity. So places such as these had layers and layers and layers of history. We are trudging up a very steep slope with a view. Oh my God. Camera stop. Pretend. That's better. Oh, nearly there. Wow. Bit of heavy breathing going on here. So this is the view from Llanwnda, and you can actually see North Pembrokeshire really well. And in fact, if I zoom in, you can see that strip along the sea. that is affectionately known as a dangler, and is a weather front, basically cloud cover, that kind of hangs around between Ireland and us. So you'd have a glorious day like this, but it can be completely cloudy and overcast and drizzly when the rest of the country is bathed in sunshine. Okay, so Llanwnda is a Neolithic burial chamber. So again, we're looking at, 4,000 to 4,000 BC. We're talking thousands and thousands of years old. This specific one is actually classed as an earth-fast tomb. And the reason being is because, if I shift my rucksack out of the way, is because it has a single stone there, standing stone, which holds up the capstone. The back is actually held fast by the earth. Now, there's a little bit of discussion with regards to whether this was originally an earth-fast tomb or whether the antiquarian form of excavation actually caused damage and it toppled or came down from what would have originally been the stones underneath. There's a pit that's been dug underneath, and actually in this they found, when they excavated it in the 1800s, Fenton, he found an urn with cremated bone. So we've got black and red cremated bone inside. He said there was evidence of some very crumbly material the urn was made of. Myself, I've excavated Neolithic pottery, and it's pretty seriously fragile stuff. It's not like the Iron Age or Roman pottery, which is industrial. It's actually stronger than some of the stuff we've got nowadays. So they found quite a bit inside here. At least they found evidence that this was used for burial, and you can see why. When you look at the phenomenal view and you listen, it's such a place of peace and calm and harmony. The view would have been much the same with regards to at least the land ending. So unlike Pavelan Cave in Gower, where we know that back roughly 32,000 years ago in the Aurignacian period, you would have had just a landscape. The land would have kind of stretched out in front of the cave instead of the sea that you see there today. But this would have been, more or less the same, potentially more trees. But it's a special site, a really, really special site. And you can see why it was used and revered by our ancestors. What do you think of the site?
Well, personally, I think that the site is really cool because just like to think that thousands of years ago someone was buried here, and who knows, since energy can't be broken or destroyed, maybe there's still energy around here.
Absolutely. Originally, and you can actually see some of the evidence, but on the original archaeological reports, they noted that unlike lots of the other cromlechs that we have, especially in Wales, this one had dry stone wall around it. And you can see that side and that side. Which actually just, it kind of points to the fact that our ancestors wanted this to be concealed, I guess, and more private. And it's pretty special. I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for a dry stone wall anyway, especially one that's made by a Neolithic man. But that is fantastic. It's quite nice actually that, you can see the ferns. They are just coming up. So this whole area would be really covered. And it's quite nice actually that we can see it just before We come on a perfect day, perfect weather, because this would be, especially North Pembrokeshire, so exposed that it would be pretty grim if we were going to come up here on in the winter time. Pinchy magical. And that is one big old capstone. Look at that. I imagine that is probably where she came from, because that is way too big to move from all the way down there.